Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of Building Beyond Barriers. So this podcast is really about informing you. I am doing some legwork for you so you don't have to. So we can meet some people and find out things. And today our first ever guest is Nicola de Sousa, and she's from the Federation of Master Builders. Hello, Nicola.
Hi, Robin. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So nice of you to be on my first ever episode. So this is a different podcast to the Bust and Beyond one. So this is all about giving some value. People who maybe have thought of joining the FMB or don't know who they are and would like to know more without them having to do all the legwork. So what is the
FMB is the Federation of Master Builders. We were established in 1941. It started in London as an effort between small building companies to join together to help rebuild London after the Blitz. We represent small and medium-sized building companies across the UK. We've got about 7,000 members at the moment, but we give them a voice in government, and then we also support them in different elements of their businesses with different types of support.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So the voice in government, how does that kind of happen?
We have a policy team and our chief executive, Brian Berry, who are particularly at the moment because we've got the new Labour government, they're working really hard to build relationships with MPs. But we also have a manifesto. So we had a manifesto launch, luckily, before the last general election, which came a little bit earlier than we were expecting. But it really sort of says what our members are thinking, what the issues are that they face, and then trying to take it to the top table, because we find, certainly, I've been enrolled for about 14 months now and didn't realise just quite how important it is that small builders have a voice. You find a lot of the time, if I'm in a meeting, that we're often with tier ones and larger companies, and so the conversation doesn't even come round to small builders, except the building industry is 99% SMEs.
I totally agree with that. And I sat on the Department of Communities and Local Government. They had a panel for house builders. For some reason, I sat on both panels, the small house builders and the big house builders. And actually, I worked out the small house builders weren't being listened to at all. The big house builders, the Bartley Homes, the Barretts, they were kind of listened to a little bit. But the small house builders, not at all. So it really is important to have a strong voice in government and to make sure that we're listening, because we need different things. And things have to change as well for everybody. And I think it's really important that someone's out there representing us. So let's just say I was a contractor. I'm not anymore, but let's say I was. And I was coming to join the Federation of Master Builders. What's the process and what do I get out of it?
The process is that anybody can call themselves a builder in this country. We have no regulation at all. And so we act as an accreditation body in the absence of that regulation. So our vetting procedures are quite strict. People go through a 17-point checklist to find out if they're eligible to join. The first thing is that you need to have been trading for 12 months or more. And we then carry out background checks on directors. We'll look for CCJs. We also check that you've got the right insurances in place. And then we carry out independent inspections on all of our members. And so where we are different, again, from the likes of Checkatrade, for example, is that there is an independent inspection. So we employ people from the British Board of Agreement to actually go out and inspect on site. And our members appreciate that as well, so that they can tell their customers that they've had a proper site inspection.
So I go through the process and I'm signed off as being able to join. How much does it cost to join?
Off the top of my head, I think it's about £52 or £53 plus VAT per month.
Okay,
There's a couple of add-ons.
We can check that and put it in the notes on the podcast. That's fine. So what else? What services do I get for that £52?
We have supports telephone lines in place. So we have things like debt collection, legal, HR and health and safety helplines that are available for members to use. I used to be a member of the FMB, so this is how I ended up here. I used to run a small building company with my husband. We were members of the FMB, and I found those helplines really useful. I think when things are going well, it's fine. You don't necessarily need them. But if things get a little bit sticky, or you have a customer who doesn't want to pay, for example, it's really nice to have somebody on the end of the phone to be able to offer you some advice, which we had fairly recently before I joined. We had a supplier that we paid for a website to produce for us. We gave them a £2,000 deposit and they didn't pay us. I mean, they didn't produce anything for us. And so we ended up taking them through the process, and I got support with that. And we managed to get most of our money back without having to spend out on solicitors. So I found that really helpful. There's also a suite of contracts that we have. There's domestic and commercial contracts. There's contracts with and without retentions. There's also a cost plus contract, so that you don't have to use a fixed price contract, which is a bit of an issue at the moment. I think some prices are still fluctuating. Certainly heard about insulation prices rising over the last few months as well. So there's a suite of contracts there, which it's sort of a 12-page contract instead of, sort of 30 plus that you might get with a JCT contract. It's been tried and tested thousands of times with thousands of members. Consumers really like the fact that, they're able to understand those contracts as well, both sides. It's not that you need a solicitor. You have to employ a solicitor to be able to understand those contracts. And then if you're paying sort of 50
I think it's great to use the same contracts again and again, isn't it? So that's kind of useful. What about subcontracts? Is there subcontracts and other forms of contracts?
There are subcontracts. There are subcontractor contracts as well.
Well, fantastic. So that's in itself is most probably worth the join-in fee. So that's definitely a positive. So what else happens within the organisation? What else do people get?
So what we've done, helplines, we've done contracts. There's also the Find a Builder service. Because of the fact that we've got that many members, we have a Find a Builder service which is available to consumers. So consumers can go onto our website and look for quality, approved, monitored builders. We offer advice to consumers as well as to our members. We go out to the home building renovating shows, for example, and I do that. I've done it probably 3 times this year, but I get a great amount of satisfaction from explaining to consumers exactly what it is that master builders do and what it is that makes them different. And when people find out what we're about, then they sort of find that it's a no-brainer. You see that there's a look of realization on their face that actually, master builders are different. And so we also offer a Find a Builder service. So we don't have a paid for leads service as such. So we're not going to do all of your marketing for you, but because there are so many members, we've got that sort of strength in numbers. Consumers are able to go onto our website, use our Find a Builder service to find a quality approved builder in their local area who has been approved to carry out the type of work that they would like to do. So whether if you are an ICEIC registered, for example, and you're able to do electrics, or you are registered to do work gas safe, whether we've measured you for new builds or extensions, loft conversions, groundworks, everything. There's a whole list of elements that people can choose from in order to be able to help pick a builder. They can either go through that directory and choose themselves, or they can enter it into our website, upload all their plans, and then that will go out to members within a 10-mile radius, and up to 3 members can get in contact with those consumers as well.
Well, that sounds really good, actually. So basically, the FNB go out, market themselves to consumers, and by doing that, they attract people to look at their website and use their Find a Builder service. Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Exactly that.
So just going into this a little bit, I mean, I have been aware of the FNB for a long time, but last year you invited me as a guest to come to the annual award ceremony, which was a fantastic night. And I think what I really enjoyed about it, and I have been to quite a few award ceremonies in my time, was it felt like a real celebration of the industry rather than trying to get money from people or bums on seats, and the winners were very, very, they deserved to win. They were very emotional about winning because they had worked really hard, and the industry's been through a hard time, through COVID and all the increases and stuff like that. And the atmosphere in the whole place, it was in the Grosvenor House, so it's in London. It was really nice. The atmosphere was superb. I'd definitely like to go again. It was really enjoyed it. And it just felt, like I said, a really positive evening. In fact, I was kind of, still talking to people well after it had finished. It was a great thing. And I think that says a lot for the Federation of Master Builders.
Yeah, I think that the awards are fantastic. And they're really useful for members as well, especially when they win. So we have regional heats as well before you get to London. So I think there are 12 awards when you get to London, but then you've got I think there's 10 different regions and nations across the UK. So we have, can't remember how many ceremonies we have. I think there's like 7 over the course of the year that runs up into that final. So we end up with quite a lot of award winners, but all of them, even my region, I've got, from Essex over to Shropshire, over to Lincolnshire, down to Herefordshire. And within that, I'll have 12 award winners of my own. And those people are able to use that sort of celebration of their achievements in their own marketing. And it helps again with, that credibility and the sense of trust. But then when we get everybody together in London, it is it's a genuine awards ceremony. It's not one of those things where, you suddenly find out that you've been nominated and you've got to pay a fortune to have a table. You get a free ticket to come if you're a finalist to the nationals. But I just think the members are the best thing about our organisation, and the fact that we are not competitors of each other. Our competition is the cowboy builder. And those of us, I always think there's enough work to go around. Certainly, we know that there's a skills shortage. So there's enough work to go around. We need to, get together, learn from each other, celebrate each other's achievements as well. Because when you are running a small business, it's lonely. It can be really lonely. And you feel like, there's nobody that really understands. Even when you employ staff and managers, there's nothing like the stress of running your own business and knowing that, you've got to find that cash at the end of the month to pay yourself and everybody else. And then
Absolutely. And I really believe in this. In fact, many years ago, 3-4 years ago, I set off to try and set up peer-to-peer groups and groups for builders. Now, a lot of people say, we can't do that. They're in competition with each other. They're not. There's plenty of work out there. But there is so much they can learn from each other in a trusted environment. And it's a lonely place running a business, really lonely. Yeah. So, that's what I've worked towards. And now the kind of groups that I do and the workshops are all about getting builders together. In fact, we're running one for the FMB. So on the 24th of October. So that'll be exciting. That'll be in London. That's going to be, and I'll be able to kind of put it into practice. We're hoping to get a few people there and have a real chat about the industry and what people need to change and how they need to move their company forward. So that's great. But I do think that, the industry needs to get together more. They need to help each other more. And there's lots and lots and lots they can do to do that. And yes, there'll be a bit of competition, but it can be friendly competition. And I totally agree with your comment. We're competing with the cowboy builders, and there's a lot of them. There is a lot of cowboy builders, unfortunately, or fortunately, because actually, it's easy to go and beat them, but compete with them. It's not a very high bar, unfortunately. So, to get out there and know what you're doing and produce a real customer service and have the right systems in place is so important. So before we call it a day, is there anything else that people might need to know about the FMB and joining it? I mean, I would recommend anyone join the FMB if they're in contracting and in the industry, even developers. I think it's a fantastically positive organisation and is really, really supportive of the industry.
Yeah, I think we are member-led. So we have boards. I have a board locally, so it's that collaboration, bringing people in together, talking to each other. On the consumer side of things as well, we're just talking about cowboy builders. There are just as many, if not more, cowboy customers out there. And, I hear stories about the way that members, get treated all the time. But I think, you learn to choose your customers. But I think what the FMB does is help customers be aware and pull out those customers who want a quality builder. I think sometimes you just have to go on your gut if we're carrying out credit checks on directors, nobody's carrying out credit checks on consumers. And a lot of time people have to follow their gut. But I think, with the advice that we offer to consumers and the fact that they know that they're going to be dealing with somebody that is doing the job properly, I think FMB members do attract a better quality of client as well. So there is a mediation service that we offer if things get sticky. It's not a case that it has to be started by the client, but we find that most of the time it's communication that is an issue between the parties, and so we're able to resolve that. And then, there's sort of like a large minority where we might find in favour of one or the other. But that sort of thing, if something does end up in court, then you've been through that process and you've been seen that you're actually doing something to
you've actually opened up one of my favourite subjects, which is the client's journey. And we've spoken about that quite a bit. But I think, unfortunately, for many contractors, even good ones, it breaks down with the communication. And it's that want to not give your client bad news. And so I'm not saying dishonest about it, but you don't give the bad news. And there is a way where you can sit down with your client before you start and you can absolutely manage your expectations and make sure that all the bad news is given then. So nothing else is a surprise. And that way they see you as a professional. They will make sure that they will pay you on time because you explain why they need you paying on time. They will understand what a variation is. They'll understand that you need a written instruction. All these things they understand. So nothing's a shock. They're not going into fear mode, which is where they start to think that you're trying to get one over on them. Because remember, they're bombarded with cowboy builders. Just look at anything on television, even grand designs. Have you ever seen a grand design come under budget? It's that's the problem. And they see that. And so they have these three fears. But I speak a lot about that. And if you really want to find out how to put a client's journey in place for your business, then come along to one of my workshops and I'll show you. But that's been really good. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Robin. Thank you for having me. I really liked the Beyond Bust podcast that you ran before. I listened to many episodes of that and I thought there were some great stories in that. But it's also great that you're doing this, especially going out and doing the homework, because that's part of my job too, is to go out and try and do the things that people don't get the chance to do themselves and disseminate that information. So good stuff, Robin.
So one last thing. If people want to join the FMB, how do they get in contact?
Well, let's go to our website, www.fmb.org.uk, and then there's a little button that says here for builders, something like that.
Perfect. That's great. And I recommend anyone that's serious about running a really successful contracting company that they join, because I think the support is fantastic and you need that kind of support. And I speak to hundreds of business owners that are construction-led and construction business owners, and they all ask me exactly the same questions that some of the stuff you solve. So, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Robin. Cheers.